Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the MetaStellar YouTube channel. My name is Maria KOROLOV, and I'm the editor here at MetaStellar. And today, the #1 free best-selling science fiction book on Amazon starts out with a woman jumping out of a spaceship in a spacesuit, just as the spaceship goes through a wormhole, leaving her all alone, floating in space, running out of air. So very exciting, cool beginning. But before we get to that book, we have 9 other books to get to. Because every single Friday, the team here at MetaStellar reads the first few chapters of every book on Amazon's top 10 list. Today, I was helped out by copy editor Melody Friedenthal and community members Christina Brown and Alex KOROLOV. Unfortunately, they couldn't make it here today, so it's just going to be me telling you about these 10 books. So in addition to that space opera I mentioned, we have several urban fantasy books, including one about a home care nurse who takes care of old vampires and werewolves, several different types of witches, and a gravedigger's son who finds a mysterious amulet. All right, the link to the article and to all the books is in the description box below. For those who don't know, MetaStellar is an online magazine of speculative fiction. All the content is always free to our readers. We publish original short fiction, reprints, excerpts, essays, and lots of book reviews like these. We are able to do this and keep all our content completely free thanks to the kind generosity of our Patreon supporters. You guys rock. We love you. Oh, and our first anthology is out, and we're working on our second one. Oh, yeah, and the other thing is, we ran the numbers according to SimilarWeb of all the science fiction and fantasy magazines out there, and we are the second most popular by website traffic. So that's pretty exciting considering we're the newest ones on the list. So yeah, we've published hundreds of stories by over 300 authors. So yeah, you guys are awesome. We love you guys, and we're gonna plan to continue doing this. All right, but let's get you some free books to read, right? That's what you're here for. Free books. Who doesn't want some free books? All right, so let's get to book number 10, and we're gonna work our way down. So this is Eclipsing the Aurora by Peter J. Foote, the first of 3 books in the Consensus Universe Space Opera series. The other books are 99 cents each, but the entire series is in Kindle Unlimited. And if you haven't heard of Kindle Unlimited yet, it's where you pay $12 a month and you read all the books you want. It's kind of like a Netflix for books. You have to buy them on Amazon and read them on Kindle, but it's otherwise a pretty good deal. A lot of books are in Kindle Unlimited. So every time I check, more than half of the bestsellers in science fiction and fantasy are in Kindle Unlimited. So it is a great deal. They did raise their price from $10 to $12 this past month. So hopefully it's not a sign that Amazon is backing away from it. Or if they are, that somebody else is going to do something like Kindle Unlimited instead. That's not Amazon. So if you're an independent bookseller, think about it. It would be a great idea. All right, so Eclipsing the Aurora is a space opera, and I love space operas. And the cover is a little confusing. It looks kind of sad and kind of blue, but it's kind of an action book. So it starts out with a bunch of aliens around Earth, and they have plans to build a device to destroy it. Their boss is this big red orb that's pulsing called the Exalted Creator. And the aliens are covered with scales, and they communicate with this orb telepathically and are super creepy. Your standard evil aliens. And there's good aliens living on Earth deep in the oceans. And one of those good aliens is called Vivian, and she rescues a human guy called Nigel and takes him to other planets. And then they come back when the book is beginning to save it from these bad aliens. So I was super confused by the timeline through the beginning of this book because it keeps jumping back and forth in time in a really confusing way. It's lots of flashbacks. I read 8 chapters of this book and I've kind of pieced it together. There's a lot of backstory, a lot of drama about who Nigel left behind when he left Earth. He was almost killed. He has a conflict with with a woman he saw and her husband, and just weird stuff happening. It's unclear what the time period is. He does have a flip phone, so I guess it's like, you know, in the last 20 years. But also when he was off in space, he met somebody who's another human who hadn't been on Earth for 30 or 40, whose ancestors hadn't been on Earth for 30 or 40 generations. So at first I thought it was set in the far future, but I guess it's not, unless there's time travel. It is pretty confusing. And there's a lot of personal drama, which I don't like. So I'm not going to be sticking with it because I don't like drama and I don't like confusing timelines. If you don't mind a book that kind of builds slowly and that has personal drama and backstory and all those human touchy-feely things, you might enjoy it. And it's free. All right, next is a book that's very much my type, Hangry as Hell by Ward Parker. The first of 9 books in the Freaky Florida Cozy Paranormal Mystery series. The other books are $3 to $4 each, but they're not in Kindle Unlimited. And the author's been on this list before, both with these Freaky Florida books and the Memory Guild related series, all of which I've read. So I've read a lot of this author's books and I love them. They're fun books. These are not like super serious, super grim books. They're about magic in small town Florida and, you know, cozy, humorous escapades. And so it's just fun. In this book, the protagonist is a nurse, Missy Mindle, a home health nurse. She provides medical screenings and basic care for seniors, and her seniors just happen to be vampires, werewolves, and other creatures because this is Florida. And there's like a retirement home, and there's a mysterious murder, and she winds up involved kind of investigating it, and you know, the usual cozy mystery stuff. So it's just fun, cozy, fluffy, a wonderful break. Now if you do like these books, you will have to pay money for the rest of them, but at $3 to $4 each, they're not that much. And like I said, I loved them. It was just a really nice break if you like these kinds of books. Then we have Empirion Witch by J.S. Malcom, the first of 3 books in the Demigoddess Chronicles, another fantasy series. The other books are $4 each, and they are all in Kindle Unlimited. And we previously reviewed this book in March, and we reviewed other books by this author as well. So the beginning of this book was really confusing because this is a spin-off of another series and a continuation of a 3rd series. So the Fey Witch Chronicles and the Realm Watchers, they're both in Kindle Unlimited. So what I would recommend is you go read the Realm Watchers first if you like these kinds of books. So I do like these books. The protagonist is Cassie, who runs a supernatural cleaning service. She's a psychic, and she just launching the business, and her first customer is the owner of an old brick townhouse who bought it 6 months ago, and his tenants keep keep breaking their leases and like moving out because it's so creepy. So Cassie was abducted as a child and had to escape her own body, and it took her years to get back to her actual self, during which time she was basically a ghost. So now she can see ghosts everywhere. So the writing style reminds me a lot of Kelly Armstrong, who I love. So this is totally up my alley. And if you like these kinds of books, I recommend it highly. Then we have something else in a similar kind of vein, inked by Rachel Rener. The first of 4 books in the Gilded Blood urban fantasy series. The other books are $1 to $5 each, and they're all in Kindle Unlimited. And this book has also been on this list before. We previously reviewed it last September. And Melody Friedenthal, our copy editor, read this one. And she says the book is about Talia, who's our protagonist. She's a tattoo artist. And she's in the middle of applying a tattoo to a biker when she runs out of ink. And so the owner isn't around. And so she decides to use some of the owner's extra special super duper ink that's locked up in his office because the customer's sitting there waiting. She breaks into the office, steals the right shade of ink, and then steals some more because she's tattooing a snake, and she wants to give the snake these spectacular glowing red eyes. So Melody really liked this beginning, and so she says that she's going to stick with the story. So the next thing that happens in the story is that the customer goes to the restroom, and behind a closed door, Talia hears some screaming, and she jimmies open the door, and she sees a serpent rising up from the floor. And Melody also likes the fact that Talia is Jewish, which is unusual for a fantasy protagonist. So Melody recommends it and says she's planning to finish it. And it sounds like my kind of book as well. All right. Next, we have Between Ink and Shadows by Melissa Wright, the first of 3 books in the Between Ink and Shadows epic fantasy series. The other books are $4 each, and they're not in Kindle Unlimited. And this book has been on our top 10 list before. We reviewed it this past January. So I love this beginning. I'm the one who read it. Nim was born to be a thief, but she's in debt to a magical organization, and she wants to get free of it. And her father used to be high up in court society, close to the king, and made a really bad, dark bargain that cost him his station and his freedom. But at least he didn't get hanged. But now his daughter Nim is stuck with his debt. And in this world, magic is illegal, which means that criminals are the ones who use it. And Nim herself is human, but the criminal who holds her debt is one of the most powerful magic users around. But because of the interest on this debt, she might never get free. So she gets this job to steal something from one of the high nobles, and it's an impossible job. She's stealing it from the guy who's second in power after the king himself, and he's the one responsible for hanging those associated with magic, the head of law and order in the country. If she fails, she'll lose what little freedom she has. And so I really like Nim. I like the predicament she's in. I like the world building here. It's very vivid and immersive. And I do like these kind of fantasy stories. So definitely my kind of book. Next, we have Accidental Magic by Iris Beaglehole. And it's the first of 8 books in the Myrtlewood Mysteries and Urban Fantasy series. The other books are $5 to $6 each, but they're all in Kindle Unlimited. The 8th book is coming out in July, and it is available for pre-order. Christina Brown read this book, and she says this book has a middle-aged protagonist, which she's a big fan of. And it opens with a prologue from the main character's grandmother, which Christina finds unnecessary because she hates prologues. I do too. The book with the alien invasion had this weird prologue in it and other stuff, and it just confused things even more for me. But anyway, back here. So Rosemary is barely staying afloat in life and is caring for a teenage daughter when she's has to go and meet with her late grandmother's lawyer for the reading of her will. And when she gets there, the lawyer's office is in flames and they have to reschedule. And eventually she winds up in the town where her grandmother is from to meet the lawyer in a magical tea shop. And apparently there were suspicious circumstances around grandma's death. So Christina says that she finds this enjoyable, although Rosemary is a little bit too bumbling for her liking. And she's always running late and rambling, which is a little bit of a cliche. There's also no mention of magic on Rosemary's part or her daughter's. Only the grandmother, who's already dead. But one thing that Rosemary does like, one thing that Christina does like, is that Rosemary has a nice, healthy relationship with her teenage daughter. Too many books have an antagonistic relationship. So Christina says she's going to keep reading it because she wants to see if it's going to hook her. She reads further. But she says that it might be a good story for somebody who likes the small town cozy mystery vibes with a little hint of magic. All right, next we have a book that I read, The Gravedigger's Son and the Waif Girl by Sam Feuerbach. The first of 4 books in the Gravedigger's Son fantasy series. The other books are $3 to $4 each, but they're all in Kindle Unlimited. So this book reminded me a little bit of Taryn the Assistant Pig Keeper from the Prydain Chronicles. Remember those? Way back when. So it has that kind of like almost a fairy tale, almost a Princess Bride kind of setting, except that it's kind of on the grim side. Not too grim. It's not like Game of Thrones kind of grim. But there isn't as much humor in it. So Farron is the gravedigger's son. His father is the gravedigger. Farron's job is to wash bodies and prepare them for funerals. And he lives in a small village. And basically, he's at the bottom of the social pecking order, and he gets bullied, and other kids beat him up. He's 18. And everybody thinks that he's really slow and stupid, but he's just shy. And so he notices that this woman that whose body he's cleaning was murdered, and a weird stranger shows up who he thinks is the murderer, and he finds this mysterious amulet on her body, which he keeps planning to give it to her family, but the woman has no family. And then a knight shows up looking to find out what happened. And so there's it's fast, it's decently paced. So the pacing does remind me a lot of the Prydain Chronicles, or of something like The Princess Bride. But the characters are a little bit sadder. So like I said, he's bullied, he's beaten up at the beginning of the book in the first few chapters. The father's alcoholic and abusive, and none of the villagers are particularly sympathetic. The old woman who died is rumored to be an evil witch. So no, it's kind of not as fun and lighthearted as I would like. But if you do like this kind of story, and I'm guessing that the boy will eventually kind of find his voice and come into his own, because he's kind of smart. I think you might really enjoy this book. All right, next we have Silver Spells by Kate Moseman. The first of 4 books in the Midlife Elementals Urban Fantasy series. The other books are $1 to $4 each, and they're all in Kindle Unlimited. This is the 4th time this book has been on our list. So people really love it. And So Luella is a social media manager at a sunscreen factory. Her daughter has just gone away to college. And then she gets fired from her job with no explanation or anything. And as she's packing up her stuff, a strange dog runs into the building and runs out again. And only Luella and her two best friends can see it. The other employees don't react at all. And her boyfriend implies that it's her own fault that she got fired, despite all her good performance reviews, so she dumps him on the spot, which I appreciate. Good for her. So now she's living in an apartment she can't afford anymore, with college bills that she can't afford to pay. And somebody offers her an opportunity to live in a house rent-free while she job hunts. And then weird stuff starts happening. So there's weird magical stuff like that dog happening to Luella and her two friends. And there's the sunny Florida setting, which is nice because it's still kind of chilly here in Massachusetts. And I actually enjoyed it. So I recommend this book if you like urban fantasy, cozy mystery kind of books. Okay, next we have an EMP book, Homestead in Shadows by Robert J. Walker, read by Alex KOROLOV, who's one of our community members. So it's a standalone book, but the author has several other books available in Kindle, and they're all in Kindle Unlimited if you like his style. And several of his books have been on this top 10 list, all of which are about EMP survival. So EMP is an electromagnetic pulse. It's caused by a solar flare or a nuclear bomb or an EMP generator. They sell them. You can just point it at people. And what it does is it kills your cell phone and any electronics you have and doesn't touch anything else. It's totally harmless to living things. So apparently it's a super popular genre. And I guess we all would like to see all the electronics die. Who knows? But there's usually at least one of these books on the top 10 list every week. So, and Alex loves these. He's always reading all of them for us. Thank God, because I am very annoyed by them. So in this book, the electromagnetic pulse hits hard right near the beginning of the story, and the book gets going right away into apocalyptic survival mode. Albert Bradlow is a doctor who travels to Native American reservations around the Midwest to provide his medical services at various clinics. And he's at one of these clinics when a chief's grandmother, who's over 100 years old, comes up to him and tells him she's been having recurrent dreams about a great calamity that's about to happen. And then after he gets this doomsday warning, he meets his old buddy Lloyd, and they're both riding their Harleys. And then they ride into some coastal city where his friend lives. And right when they're in the center of town, the EMP hits. All the power goes out. The streets are suddenly dark. Their motorcycles are still working. I guess they don't have like a lot of electronic components. But everybody else's cars die, and all these cars smash into each other, and there's explosions in the distance. And so Alex says it was an exciting start to an EMP story. He likes the pacing. He likes that the main character is a Native American doctor, and the fact that he rides a Harley. It's an unusual beginning. And he says he seems like a really interesting person, and he's looking forward to seeing how he ends up dealing with this apocalyptic scenario. All right, and let's see. Before we go on to the number one book on our list, I want to thank our Patreon supporters: Marie Leclerc, Humphrey Price, Mary Stoll, Alex KOROLOV, Avery Parks, Terrence Smith, Brad Center, David Perlmutter, Melanie Friedenthal, Anastasia KOROLOV, and Amira Lutfi. You guys are awesome. We wouldn't be able to do this without you. Seriously, for real. The links to the Patreon page is in the description box below, as well as the links to our anthology. And we have t-shirts and mugs and stuff like that you can pick up as well to support us. All the donations go to pay to original fiction. Everybody who works with us is a volunteer. All our hosting and everything else is donated. So definitely, if you do want to support original science fiction and fantasy, and help new authors find their audience. Join us. And if you'd like to write for us, if you'd like to submit stories, if you'd like to submit book reviews, join us on this YouTube channel, or be interviewed on our YouTube channel. My contact information is down below as well. Drop me a line. All right, now let's get to the number one book on this list, Breach of Peace by Daniel Gibbs and Gary Stevens. The first of 7 books in a Breach of Faith space opera series. The other books are $1 to $5 each, but they're all in Kindle Unlimited. And Gibbs has been on our list before a lot. People love him. And even this book itself has been on our list before. So I love space operas. It's one of my favorite genres. And there is a war going on between the League of Soul and the Terran Coalition. And the Shadow Wolf, a trading ship with a ragtag crew, is caught in the middle. But before we get to that, the League of Soul has an admiral who has a plan to bring down the Terran Coalition. So he plans to turn the Terran Coalition's sentimentalism and war weariness against them and make them all part of the League machine. Oh, and the League are the bad guys here. So Miri is a woman, and she's on a spaceship that's just been captured by the League, probably by that admiral we just met. And so she has a very daring escape from captivity, finds a spacesuit, goes through an airlock, and jumps out into empty space just before the ship goes through a wormhole. So she's got enough air to last for 2 days, floating in space, all alone, which I thought was awesome. So then we go to the Shadow Wolf, that trading ship. It's been carrying cargo without proper license from the League of restricted materials. They're boarded by an inspector who finds the ore, but the captain might have a plan to get them out of it. Meanwhile, Miri has been floating in space for 10 hours and her oxygen is half gone. So I love this story. I love this beginning. It's very readable, fast-paced, suspenseful, and I'm definitely planning to stick with it, especially because the books are in Kindle Unlimited. I mean, since I have a subscription, I can just sit there and read all these books for free, which I love. So we don't get any money from Amazon for promoting these books because they're free. But we do have an affiliate link. So if you do buy something from Amazon that's related or something like that, I think they might give us a tiny bit. But we're also trying to get an affiliate link going from Bookshop, which is an independent booksellers group. And if they have any free books, we'll try to get to those as well in the future. But yeah, so that's it for this week's books. If you like any of them, let me know in the description box below. And if you want to get this list of books every Friday in your email, we have an email newsletter you can sign up for so you don't miss any of them. It goes out at 5 p.m. Eastern time every Friday afternoon, so you can get your weekend reading. And also you can subscribe to our channel and get an alert so you don't miss any of these videos. We do them every single Friday because we've got a little bit of OCD going on. All right. I will see you all next Friday, everybody. Thanks for joining us. We love seeing you here. Bye-bye.